Hello everyone and welcome to the weird, scary and horrible parts of humanity. Today we are looking at another airport shooting which was committed in the baggage claim area of Terminal 2 of Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport in Broward County, Florida in the United States of America, which took place on the 6th of January 2017. Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport primarily serves Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood and Dania Beach, with over 700 daily flights to 135 domestic and international destinations, and is a hub for IBC Airways, Silver Airways, a focus city for JetBlue, and an operating base for Allegiant Air and Spirit Airlines, which also holds the largest share at the airport with 30% market share. It is also used as a base for passengers heading on board cruise ships departing from Fort Lauderdale. However, as it is only 26 miles from Miami International Airport, it primarily focuses on domestic flights and short-haul international flights to Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas, Costa Rica, Jamaica, the DR and Colombia. Esteban Santiago-Ruiz was born in Union City, New Jersey on the 16th of March 1990. However, at the age of 2 in 1992, he moved to Puerto Rico, where his family was settling down in Peñuelas, attending the only high school there. However, he did not graduate and dropped out at the age of 17. After dropping out of high school, he joined the Puerto Rico National Guard on the 14th of December 2007, becoming a private first class effective as of February 2016. From April 2008 until November 2008, he was in the Puerto Rico National Guard. Then until March 2009, he was transferred to Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri and returned to the Puerto Rico National Guard until March 2010. From the 23rd of April 2010 until the 19th of February 2011, he served as a combat engineer during the Iraq War. However, during the Iraq War, he became deeply traumatized after seeing a bomb explode near two of his friends, and his mental health began to deteriorate when he returned to Puerto Rico. His aunt, Ruiz Rizera, summarized it best in telling MSNBC that he was not okay and a different person. He then went to Fort Dix, New Jersey until April 2011, returning to the Puerto Rico National Guard where he remained until February 2014. Upon his return to Puerto Rico, police became concerned about his erratic behavior and confiscated his legally acquired firearms under the right to bear arms in March 2012. He was also briefly hospitalized for psychiatric disorders, but this appeared to be voluntary. He then travelled up to Florida, and despite not living there, he managed to get a Floridian driver's license and would use this license to buy the gun in the airport shooting, according to CBS Miami. In May 2014, his guns were returned to him and he presented to the Puerto Rican authorities his Floridian driver's license, which allowed him to get a successful application for permission to carry a concealed gun. However, this would only apply in Puerto Rico. He was on inactive ready reserve from February 2014 until November 2014, but the reason why this was is unknown. He moved to Anchorage, Alaska with his brother in November 2014 and then transferred to the Alaska Army National Guard on the 21st of November 2014 before receiving a general discharge for unsatisfactory performance in August 2016 when he was put onto inactive ready reserve. He lived in a trailer home on Diamond Boulevard in Anchorage. While living in Alaska, he got a job as a security guard with Signal 88 Security, which he began in 2015. He was described as quiet and solitary. While living in Anchorage, he got into a relationship with a girl named Michelle Quinones, but his relationship was fraught with problems, and in January 2016 he was arrested and charged with assault, having yelled at his girlfriend, broken down the door and choked her, which resulted in a deferred prosecution agreement and a domestic violence temporary protection order against him. His girlfriend then kicked him out, and he lived in the Kupukikak Inn, a 3-star hotel in Midtown Anchorage with 35 rooms. He was scheduled to appear for the sentencing of the domestic violence case in mid-April 2017. As 2016 rolled along, his mental health got worse and worse, and the Miami Herald would note that his life in Anchorage was falling apart. In September 2016, his son was born. On the 15th of November 2016, he was fired from Signal 88 Security and would then be unemployed for the remainder of his free life. In November 2016, he visited the FBI field office in Anchorage, the only FBI field office in Alaska, as there are only FBI residential offices in Fairbanks and Juneau. Why he chose an FBI field office is unknown, but Santiago told the FBI that the US government was controlling his mind and making him watch online videos by ISIS, and he was being forced to join ISIS by the FBI. He also said that he was hearing voices in his head telling him to commit acts of violence, but when the FBI field office insisted that he seek mental health treatment, he insisted that he was in control and didn't intend to hurt anyone. However, the FBI notified the Alaskan police, who detained him and took Santiago to a local mental health facility for a mental health evaluation. He was investigated by the FBI, who discovered no links to terrorism or violation of laws, and while Alaskan police did take his handgun, a Walther PPS 9mm semi-automatic pistol, from him, it was only held for 20 days and returned to him in December 2016 because he had not been convicted of a serious crime, he had not been involuntarily committed to a mental health institution or adjudicated as mentally defective. Hence, his right to bear arms were not impeded. However, giving Santiago back his 9mm semi-automatic pistol would have deadly consequences. Ultimately, Alaska has very few regulations regarding the sale, possession and use of firearms and ammunition, with the only real obstacles being to certify handguns and long guns within 30 days, as well as a duty to inform of possession. Equally, the FBI in Alaska noted that there was no reason to place him on a no-fly list. On the 31st of December 2016, he made a flight reservation to New York JFK Airport from Anchorage. However, he cancelled the flight shortly thereafter. It is speculated that he cancelled it because of a large deployment of a number of NYPD officers. A few days later, on the 3rd of January 2017, he booked Delta Airlines flight DL517 from Anchorage to Minneapolis, Minnesota, an overnight flight which left at 10:14 p.m. on the 5th of January 2017 and arrived into Minneapolis at 6:30 a.m., which is Delta's second biggest hub after Atlanta, Georgia. He also bought a connecting flight with Delta from Minneapolis to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The airfare from Anchorage to Fort Lauderdale would cost $278. Arriving 4 hours before the flight's scheduled departure, he declared his 9mm handgun with 2 magazines, which was locked into a secure container with 2 ammunition magazines, as his only checked baggage, and he was carrying military identification. This is allowed under TSA rules, whereby guns can be kept in a locked, hard-sided container as checked baggage. He had no other checked luggage or carry-on bags. During the flight, he was allegedly arguing with other passengers and disruptive and unruly, but nothing came to pass. His next flight was on board Delta from Minneapolis to Fort Lauderdale, with the flight arriving into Terminal 2, used as a host terminal at Fort Lauderdale by Delta and Air Canada, arriving just before 1 p.m. on the 6th of January 2017. Retrieving his gun on arrival at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood Airport, he loaded his 9mm in the airport bathroom in the baggage claim area and then took it out, leaving it in his waistband. At the time, the Anchorage Daily News reported that he was wearing a Star Wars t-shirt. Santiago then began shooting indiscriminately in the baggage claim area at 12:55 p.m, killing 5 people and injuring 6 people. All of those who died were passing through Fort Lauderdale to get a cruise with their spouses. All of the spouses would survive. An additional 40 people were injured indirectly during the pandemonium that followed the shooting. Of the injured, 8 were taken to hospital and 3 were admitted into intensive care units. The 5 killed were 62-year-old Virginia Beach resident Terry Andreas, who was originally from New Jersey and worked at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard; Olga Watering of Marietta, Georgia, who was originally from Ipswich in the United Kingdom; Michael Oemea of Council Bluffs, Iowa; Shirley Timmons, and 69-year-old Mary Louise Amzibel of Dover, Delaware, who was originally from Ashtabula, Ohio. However, Santiago only fired his 9mm for 70 to 80 seconds before laying down on the floor. Witnesses told MSNBC, however, that he only stopped shooting because he ran out of bullets. Approximately 5 to 15 seconds after he lay down, he was apprehended by an off-duty sheriff of Broward County Sheriff's Office, which serves Fort Lauderdale. During the shooting, Santiago had said nothing. Passengers began to rush out of the airport with an estimated 20,000 pieces of baggage abandoned at the airport, with rumours that there were additional gunshots, with numerous law enforcement officers rushing to apprehend Santiago. BBC News reported that this included hundreds of passengers who were left on the tarmac of the airport. One of those in the airport at the time was former White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer, who was the 23rd White House Press Secretary for President George W. Bush from January 2001 until July 2003. Fort Lauderdale Hollywood Airport would remain closed until the next day. Then President Barack Obama was briefed about the shooting and sent condolences to the victims, with his staff reaching out to the then Fort Lauderdale Mayor Jack Seiler. Obama told ABC News' George Stephanopoulos that he was heartbroken over the attack. Then President-elect Donald Trump tweeted that he was monitoring the situation and had spoken to then Florida Governor Rick Scott, a fellow Republican, who himself would say that the attack was a senseless act of evil. All flags were flown at half-mast for the remainder of the weekend. Taken into custody on the 7th of January 2017, Santiago had multiple charges filed against him, including performing an act of violence at an international airport, using and carrying a firearm during and in retaliation to a crime of violence, and causing the death of a person using a firearm. During police interviews, Santiago said that he had been under government mind control, was hearing voices, and that he had been participating in jihadi chat rooms online before the attack. However, investigators found that there was no link to terrorism and that Santiago was acting alone. Held at Federal Detention Center Miami, he was unable to pay for a lawyer, and he was given a federal public defender and was detained without bond before being indicted on 22 federal charges on the 26th of January 2017, pleading not guilty 4 days later. On the 13th of March 2017, in what was truly a missed opportunity based on the behaviour he had shown while in Anchorage, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder. He had been provided psychotropic medication in February 2017 but refused to take them initially. Once he took them, his mental health improved significantly by May 2017, and on the 9th of June 2017 he was deemed legally competent to stand trial. In April 2017, his domestic violence charge took place in Anchorage, and he appeared vis-a-vis video link from Federal Detention Center Miami. However, his attorneys and federal prosecutors made a plea agreement that he would plead guilty in return for a life sentence in prison to avoid the death penalty, which he would have faced had he not pled guilty, which federal prosecutors were going to pursue. On the 23rd of May 2018, he pleaded guilty to the Fort Lauderdale Airport shooting. Around the same time, survivors began to launch lawsuits against Delta, including Walter's family for the shooting, based on the fact that Santiago was not the typical passenger, was a single male flying alone, on a one-way ticket with no luggage other than the firearm, and turned up for the flight 4 hours earlier. But, debatably rightly, nothing came to pass from these lawsuits against Delta. On the 17th of August 2018, he was sentenced to 5 consecutive life sentences, plus 120 years in prison, meaning that Santiago will never be released. With sentencing having passed, he was transferred to the Federal Transfer Center in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, on the 12th of September 2018. This is operated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons and houses offenders and parole violators who have yet to be assigned a permanent prison facility. 8 days later, on the 20th of September 2018, he was transferred to the United States Penitentiary, Allenwood, a maximum security prison in Allenwood, Pennsylvania. In June 2021, for an unknown reason, he was transferred to the United States Penitentiary, Tucson, in Tucson, Arizona. Thank you for watching. Please do yourself a favour and hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to be informed of when new videos come out. Also, why not hit that like button and leave a nice comment? It helps more than you know, and your support is truly appreciated. Until next time, stay awesome, stay classy, be kind to everyone you meet, have an amazing day, and remember that truth is always more interesting than fiction.